first item is changes or modifications to the agenda. Do we have any changes or modifications? John, do you have anything? Any of the, no? No. Public comment? There's nobody here from the public that I know of. So we can pass on that as well. Next item would be the review and approval of minutes of January the 9th, as well as our special meeting of January the 16th. I'll accept the motion for both of them.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Are there any errors or omissions? Any errors or omissions in the 2 minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Next item is our delinquent tax collector's appointment.
No.
Got one other.
Oh, I'm sorry, one step ahead. Enosburg Association outside activities permit request.
So if board flips in your package, you'll see a letter from Shauna Lovelet, the president of the Enosburg Business Association, making their annual request for their outdoor activities permit. This is something that the EBA has done for many decades now in the community, and looking to entertain a number of different events through the association this year, which are listed in the letter: the Easter egg hunt, the Harvest Fest on Lincoln Park, doing popcorn sales Tuesday evenings during the summer while the town band concerts play, Christmas in Enosburg, which would be this year on December 1st. And then, as she states lastly in there, there may be some other events that they're working on right now, but they don't have dates for, so they may come back to you at a later time to ask
So they
about
want
them.
to do all these at once?
Right, that's the way this has always been done. They put in one request for an
I don't
outdoor.
have any problem, I think it's a great idea.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the
You
motion.
can make a motion, second.
I'll second that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very simple. Next one is our delinquent tax collector's appointment.
So if, again, if the board flips in your packets, you'll see your last appointment letter for Andy becoming the delinquent tax collector for the village of Enosburg Falls. His term actually expired, so if the board would like Andy to continue in this position, you should backdate it to the expiration date, which was March of 2017. Make it applicable to that date going forward. We missed that his expiration time had come up earlier in the year. So you can just backdate that to the last expiration date. It's a 3-year term. That's historically what the village trustees have done for the delinquent tax collector position. And we have Andy here to answer any questions if you have any of him. Didn't want to steal your thunder there, Andy.
That goes back to March, but for how long?
It's a
Is it a 1
3 years.
3-year appointment.
3-year
appointment.
3 years.
Okay. I make the motion to give it to Andy.
I'll second it.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Back on the payroll.
I'll try to bring you some more money.
Just don't come to my house.
Don't pay your tax deal quick up at your house.
Yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
very well.
Andy, I noticed that you've got a letter of request here to retain our attorney for,
Yes.
That's the next item there.
yeah. There, we have to give authority to that, do we? Yeah.
Yeah, so the next agenda item Andy is looking for permission as delinquent tax collector to attain the services of Von Como, attorney in Enosburg here, for the purpose of conducting a tax sale in the near future. And Vaughn has indicated he'd like that a matter of public record to have the board vote on that and give that approval.
So you heard what that's all about. What we'd have to do is give Andy the approval to retain that attorney so he can proceed with tax collections. So we did a motion to that effect.
I make the motion that you have bond.
Good,
I'll second that.
good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank
We
you.
have many, Andy, to work on at this time?
What's that? No, this was new as of last year, because in the past, we just went to the lawyer and he proposed, and Como has a different program, and that he requires approval of the select board before he'll work on any case at all.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair enough.
so I can date that letter as of tonight. I'll do like I did last year, I'll write it, but I'll put it on village stationery.
Sure.
Yep, and I appreciate that. And if you're through with me, I'm on my way. I have another program at 7.
Okay.
We thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Have a good night, Andy.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Next item is the hydro renovation project, hydro board resolution and change orders number 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah. So there's two activities here under the hydro renovation project. First, we have listed a hydro bond resolution, and this is the actual resolution that the bond bank is requiring from the legislative body, which is you, the Board of Trustees, in order to proceed forward with the bond that was voted on by the registered voters of the village of Enosburg Falls and approved, and then subsequently also approved by the Public Utility Commission. So it's a lot of signatures. I think we've got correctly flagged all of the spaces here in the actual document, the approval of the bond. And I guess probably the easiest thing is just pass it
Pass it around.
down the table and let everybody sign it. There's a lot of spaces. There's probably about 10 different pages on here you guys have to sign for the resolution, and this just certifies by the board. We probably should have a motion to that effect, that you are approving the resolution for the hydro renovation project and going to the Vermont Bond Bank for the purpose of securing that bond, which was in the amount of $2 million.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, so I just pass this down, and if everyone could sign where indicated there.
10 pages. I got 10 fingers.
Do you want to wait or go into the next one there, Walter?
Well, this is going to be time consuming, I can just tell. Maybe if we get conversations going, we can, why don't we carry on with this, and we can all sign them in together here.
Okay. So the
Next would be to the change orders.
yeah. So we've received several more change orders. concerning the hydro renovation project since your last regular meeting. So these, you probably recall last regular meeting, we did change orders 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we now have 3 more change orders, 5, 6, and 7. If you look in your packet, you'll see a description of these change orders from Paul Beck, who's the engineer on the project. So the total amount of these, change order 5 is $1,573.61. Change order number 6 is $8,781. Change order number 7 is $9,684.09. Recall we had a contingency which was change order number 4 that you had approved your last regular meeting. And the total of now change orders 1 through 7, if the board approved these, will still leave a balance in the project of $100,243.75. So we're still well within the approved budget for this. And it could well be that, you know, we come back a little later in a couple of months or something, depending how things go, and ask for another set of change orders to add some more work into the project here. So staff's recommendation is to follow also our engineer's recommendation to approve change orders 4, 5, and 6 for the hydro renovation project.
5, 6, 7.
I'm sorry, 5, 6, and 7.
That's what I don't quite understand, John.
Maybe date. Oh, it's got that. Sorry. Let me see that. Yeah, I don't know why that has there's no place for you guys to sign on that page. I think Liza, in order to make copies for your packet, she had to take all of these, sign
Yeah,
here,
sure.
tabs off, and then remember which ones to put them back on
Yeah.
again. I think she made a mistake
I
on
think if we
that
go
one.
through that once I've signed them all, there might be one other area where that I signed it, perhaps maybe it's not applicable.
Oh. Let me take a quick look.
So what do we want to do with this? Anybody?
Paperwork.
Yeah.
Needs to be done.
Okay, that,
Yes. No, that's good. You're the chair.
Okay.
Chair,
Yeah,
so that's
okay.
correct.
so it's just that one
Say,
basically.
hey,
I think they flagged that, but it's really just a date. You don't have to sign it. I can just fill in
Okay.
today's date in there. That's what they're looking for. That this is the date that you're actually signing this resolution.
Okay.
I can fill that in. I'll just do it right now.
Yep, that was talked about during the project. We decided not to.
Yeah. The rest of this looks good.
All good?
Yeah, it's just that one was a
So I'm
little
ready to pass this
confusing.
on?
Did you sign all in the back pages there too?
Woods right here,
That's the
That's
treasurer.
municipal treasury.
Right.
straight to Little League. See from this, right at that road and those woods right
That's the
there.
treasurer. Oh, we just had him here too bad. It's all right, we'll catch up to
How
him.
much are we gonna spend here?
This road, I was going to ask you a question, you talking about sidewalk, or you talking about road?
This one here.
That's the one, or I filled in the date.
When you come up to the bridge.
So that's it then.
Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, very good.
A lot of the grants and the permits was.
I'm going to get the-
Golfball and.
It's not worth talking to.
I know, you could to somebody, but I'm not qualified to talk to you about it.
So I'll make the motion on the change orders that we approve.
Walter,
So did we do a motion or are you,
I'm doing that now.
you're doing the motion? Okay. We have a seconder.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Very good. Yeah, not all of them require all the board signatures. Some are the treasurer, some are just the chair.
Okay.
Yeah, what are these, the original, is it?
That will be the original,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
The application had that many pages in it too.
It has.
It was amazing. It was crazy.
Well, how much money we talking, three?
Did you forget that one?
2 million was the bond.
2 million with the bond. I guess it's worthwhile looking for signatures.
Yeah, yeah. Gotta take care of the paperwork.
nothing new on that project and other than these changes.
No, no, not other than what we just discussed.
Walter,
Yes,
I think you forgot one.
you have this in this. Thank you, Lenny.
You want a press release or- Oh, south. Didn't see it on the Muslims meeting this morning.
Was there early?
Oh, you were?
Was there two?
So I gotta get up earlier and,
I was in here at 6 o'clock this morning.
yeah.
I just slept for a while.
I tried, I didn't get there until 7:30 or. Yeah.
Just all the important information.
I didn't pick up anything. Everything there's solid, so, you know, whatever we hear. Okay.
Did you find out your water problem? No?
No, they just told me to dig there, so it was right there, we dug and there's nothing dry.
Oh, no. Hmm.
Oh, here we go.
I still
Right,
think
on these are.
that's where we're hearing all the rushing water in that area. I've had rural water go around the whole village twice with their listening device, and the only thing it hears somewhere near the corner of Missisquoi and Maine. But we got from that hydrant.
When they have these changes, John, it's, as they're progressing along, working on different things, they find these issues, do they?
We've
Is that how
done
it works?
Try and
What are you referring to?
The change orders that they come to
Oh.
us.
The change orders are the result of the contingency that we have returned back into the project, so
We're still losing.
we've got some monies available now
Yeah,
that NORCAN has released, allowing us to now spend on some other items
okay.
that we didn't think when we entered into the contract.
And they
with
recommend
Pittsburgh.
the,
Yeah, and our
okay,
engineer,
that's what I was getting at, yeah.
yeah, and our engineer is recommending, these are the next things we should do then, now that we've got some other money available in the budget.
Yeah.
We have about 2.5, 3 foot profit.
It's broke before over by the Hayes farm.
What's that?
It's broke before over by the Hayes farm.
Yeah,
Have you looked over that way?
we look everywhere.
Yeah.
Like looking at hay, unless it boils up, you can't find it.
Great.
You know, Steve Zone took the whole day yesterday, took that on the whole village. Going to Cisco way on
All set, Guy?
West Berkshire Road, you know, that road too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now that we've had all this paperwork signed here, we can move on to our next item, which is the draft of budget discussions, 2018 draft.
Have you given everybody a copy of the new draft? Okay. So, Walter, I'm gonna pass this down. I've done up a memo.
I grabbed glasses.
If you could take a copy of that and pass it down, Walter. I've done up a memo for the board summarizing the changes that have occurred in the last two budgets that we have. Board recalls you have approved the water department budget and you have approved the wastewater department budget. At our last meeting last week, the board asked for a number of changes to be made in the remaining two budgets that we have to continue working on, which is the general fund and the electric department. And those changes that you requested would impact both department budgets. So the draft budgets given to you just now are reflective of those requested changes, and I'll just go through those just to refresh everybody's memory of what we had discussed at our meeting last week. So under the general fund, and then there were actually a couple other items which I'll go over with the board as well that were discovered within the general fund budget, which we have taken steps to correct as well. So the items requested by the board at last meeting was to reduce the scope of work on the Pleasant Street drainage project from the $131,000 project that our Director of Public Works had estimated when he went out to take a look at the project and define the scope of work, and reduce that down to a much smaller project, but one that we think could maybe still rectify the drainage issue in front of two residences located on Pleasant Street. And that has approximately a $19,000 budget. It ended up being a little bit higher than what we were talking about last meeting. Last meeting, I think we were talking around 15,000. We thought it could be done. When Gary went back and looked at the numbers again and refined them a little, it ended up being 19,000. So a little bit more than we were thinking, but still much less than 131.
That increase from 60 to 19 that's mainly the catch basin, is
Catch
it?
basin piping.
Catch basin work?
You know, patchwork and
Yeah.
coring the existing manhole.
Yeah. So At the board's request, we're showing that in the budget to be financed over a 3-year term, and that is in your draft. The next thing was to remove the 16 Village Drive roof replacement project. That project affects all budgets, so that correction has been made, and so that project is no longer showing in any of the budgets. The third item was to increase the payment in lieu of taxes line item from the electric department to the general fund by $5,000. So that too is now showing in both the general fund and in the electric department. Now, in addition to those items that were requested, we discovered a few other things in the budget that were not quite as they should be. And so we have changed those, and those changes are also in this draft, and I'll go over those with you. The first is the auditors, KBS, made their adjustments at the completion of their visit here about a week ago, and one of the adjustments has the village carrying over $3,830 from the 2017 general fund budget to the 2018 general fund budget. So in other words, we went a little bit over budget in 2017 by $3,800. So we have to carry that over, that balance over into 2018. So that's one item. We also discovered we were carrying too much for our match requirement for the Elm Street sidewalk project. And we've made two separate reductions within that item. The first was $4,396 that we actually had paid out of the 2017 budget as part of the engineering work that our engineers did in the scoping of the project. And that can count as a part of our match, our 20% match on the project. So we reduced by that amount, the $4,396. And then the second item was in the last draft of the budget, we did not reduce the $25,000 sidewalk appropriation request out of that match, and the plan had been to include that sidewalk appropriation amount as part of our match towards the Elm Street sidewalk project. So we also reduced the requested amount for the Elm Street sidewalk match by another $25,000 as well. So with those two deductions, this reduces our match on the Elm Street sidewalk project from $104,375 to $74,979. And we are showing this revised number in the draft that you have in front of you tonight. And it's showing as a 5-year term, the $74,979. Now you may want to reconsider that. That could go for a longer term if you choose to, but in this draft, we're showing it as a 5-year term for financing on that. So as you go through all of these items in the general fund, you go to, well, it's right on the front page actually of the draft, the tax rate page. The net effect of all of these changes actually increased the tax rate slightly from the last draft that we had. So it's now at 5,850 $5.58. That would be from 17's 5588. So it's up approximately 3 cents, or 5.4% increase in the tax rate. So a couple of things that I would suggest the board consider if you want that to come down. A couple of things I would throw out there is maybe to eliminate the Pleasant Street drainage project altogether. That would take $19,000 off the tax rate, or, well, not completely because it's financed over 3 years, but would take a
3/4%, probably.
right, it would take a significant amount out of the budget for 2018. Or you could also consider increasing the term of the Elm Street sidewalk project, which is what I just mentioned, and maybe instead of 5 years, you want to go to 10 years. That would also lower the tax rate a little bit. Wouldn't get a lot out of that, but you'd get a little bit out of it if you went from 5 years to 10 years. One thing I will tell you related to that is it will change the way in which we vote on that issue.
On the sidewalk?
On the match for the Elm Street sidewalk project. Up to 5 years, if you're financing something up to 5 years, you can vote as an article from the floor, and so it's just written in as an article in the warning. If it's over 5 years, it has to be voted by Australian ballot. And there's some other conditions that come along with that. You have to hold an additional public hearing prior to the annual meeting where the vote will take place. You have to advertise it in the paper, obviously, because it is a public hearing. So there's a few other things that come along with that, but it's an option if you want to consider that. I'm just telling you, just understand, if you do go to 10 years, it changes the way in which the public will vote for that item.
How would it look if we just got rid of the Pleasant Street drainage project and kept the 5-year term, 5-year term for the Elm Street? That. How would that
Kept it
look?
at 5 years. I don't know, do you have that in front of you?
Yep, right now we're looking at .5858. If we get rid of Pleasant Street, leave Elm Street at 5 years, it's .5820.
0.5820, so not much of a drop there.
Well, it's
You go
almost.
from 5858 to
Right.
5820.
Right. And if you lose Pleasant Street and you switch Elm Street to 10 years, it's .5786.
578, right. So you're
But on
you're
Pleasant
dropping it on about a penny.
Almost 80 cents.
Yeah, almost a penny.
Yeah.
That's over half
If you
cent.
do, if you do both of them. And that would take you down, yeah, that would take, if you did both of those items, it would take you down to 5786, which would be a 4.1% rate increase, rather than a 5.4, which is what we're showing right now. The only other suggestion, unless you want to look at some additional cuts somewhere else in the budget, remember though, some things we're committed to. We took on a lot for 2018's budget. There's a lot of projects in here and some equipment expenses too. We've got the street sweeper in there as well, remember. We've applied for a grant to see if we can get a new one rather than a good used one. But, that's the reason that there's so much upward pressure on the tax rate is we've taken on a lot in the general fund for 2018. So the only other suggestion, unless you want to start looking at some major cuts somewhere else in the general fund, is again, we could go back to the electric department and, depending on how much more you want that rate to come down, we could go back to the payment in lieu of taxes line item in the electric department. So you've increased it by 5,000 in this draft here. I don't know what is acceptable to you for a rate increase. I don't know if you're, trying to get it down to a certain amount, or, what would make you happy here. If you're going to shave another quarter-cent or something off from the tax rate, then we could go back and calculate, what it would take if there's a certain number and you have in mind that you don't want to go over on the tax rate, and calculate what we would need from the payment in lieu of taxes line item. That is the only other suggestion that I can come up with right now.
I think historically the tax rate has been pretty steady in Enosburg, in the village here.
Yeah, I think I'm actually very proud of the work that we have done concerning our general fund.
We're talking
in
3
particular.
cents, and we've already, if we do those proposals, we're down below 58 then.
You're actually.
So we're talking under 3 cents.
If you do the Elm Street finance to 10 years and you remove the Pleasant Street project altogether, then you would be down to 5786, which is, you're currently in the 17 budget, you're at 5588.
5558. It's very small.
Yeah, sorry, gotta get my readers on here. Yeah, I'm sorry, 5558 in the, that was your tax rate for 2017.
Yep.
So if you did those two changes, your rate would go to 5786, so just a little over 2 cents. Or 4.1% increase.
Not the Elm Street,
Pleasant.
Pleasant Street. That brought it down, what, 0.6 of a cent there? I think it was. So that wouldn't put it below 58.
No, 5820. 0.5820.
Yeah. So if you just did Pleasant Street only and took Pleasant Street out and kept the Elm Street project at the 5-year term, your tax rate would be 5820. If you did both of those things, remove the Pleasant Street project and increase the term for the Elm Street project note to 10 years rather than 5 years, your tax rate would be 5786.
Well, the Pleasant Street, with everything else we got going on, in the lead plant, the Hayes Farm Road and everything, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but,
I think we should table it for another year.
yeah. I would agree with that.
What are you saying, big guy?
She said table it for a year.
Pleasant Street.
Oh, the Pleasant Street
Pleasant
project.
Street.
Pleasant Street.
Just because we have so much equipment. And the sweeper, that's really needed.
How many complaints did we get, Leonard? 1 or 2 or 3 or? How many complaints?
No, only
Where
two.
is it?
Two that I know of.
Two that I,
Just
yeah,
one of them side by side, the one,
Yeah.
Sean Larrabee and the Keniston.
yeah.
I was just curious. Because one of those houses is up for sale right now, right?
Yeah, I don't think we should be doing construction if it's for sale. I don't know, it's, not that it matters, I don't think, it's just, you start digging things up sometimes. Anyways,
So what you're basically saying then is defer the project on
Yeah.
Pleasant Street?
Yeah.
And what else? What else did you have in mind?
The other one, it doesn't matter to me, the Elm Street.
The other one, the
5
other
or
was
10,
go up to 10 years or stay at 5, whatever. Is that,
I
was
wouldn't
that the
bother me
second
that
item?
one, I
Yeah.
think,
Huh?
I don't have any thing with that one, but I think the Pleasant Street should be,
Okay, so if we take the Pleasant Street out,
yeah.
okay, the next step is, do you want to go 5 years? Or 10 years?
How's everybody else feel about 5 or 10 years?
If it goes Australian ballot and it fails, then what happens?
It's a good question.
I just was.
Probably, I assume that the board will want to hold another vote. I mean, it would be up to the Board of Trustees to indicate what steps you wanted to take, but I assume you would still be interested in doing the project, and so maybe you would call for a revote, a second vote on it, to see if you could get the bond passed then. But that would be completely up to the Board of Trustees to decide what you wanted to do at that point if the Australian ballot vote did not pass.
Isn't it 5 years or
First time.
$50,000? It used to be.
5 years, you don't have to go to,
No, it
less
used to be
than
a
5
dollar
years,
figure, too.
we can do it
No,
ourselves.
No, there's actually, it doesn't matter the dollar amount.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, it matters the
The time,
length, the
years.
length of time, right? Anything over 5 years has to go to
I
Australian
thought with the
ballot.
town, we had some issues that were 5 years or $50,000 if we borrowed more than 50.
No, the counsel that I've
Yeah. no, I
received,
understand.
at least from attorneys, has said that it's actually not, the statute doesn't stipulate a dollar amount. It only stipulates a term, a time for when you have to go. So anything up to 5 years, you can vote from the floor. Anything over 5 years has to go to Australian ballot.
Well, it's something that needs to be done, isn't it? That sidewalk project.
Well, we've been working on it for several years now, and people in the community have asked for it to be done. We got a pretty sizable grant to
Why
help
don't we
us
keep
pay
it
for
5
it.
years?
Pardon?
Why don't we keep it at 5 years, even though it's gonna be a little,
Yeah.
what do
Okay.
you think, Larry?
Like Alan said, what if we go 10 and then the voters reject it? Then what do we do? So
Oh.
let's keep it at 5.
I think
Okay.
we can, yeah.
That would have the tax rate then at 582. Is that acceptable?
I would think so.
Okay.
I think the history of the tax rate in the village has been very good, over the past.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think we've had any,
Yeah, but then look at the
egregious
amount, the delinquent
increases.
taxes
Huh?
last year. The taxes, the rate's been down, but people still can't afford to pay them. Look at how many the delinquents this past year.
I don't know what this figure was.
Wow,
Was that for the village or the town or both?
what's the village?
For the village, it was high. We had
It's the highest it's ever been, apparently,
Yeah,
as far as they can
highest
go back.
anyone can remember, at least.
I think that was in terms of $53,000 and change or something, wasn't it?
68, I thought.
68, I'm not sure. Okay, so getting back to the budget here now, what we're proposing is that we eliminate the Pleasant Street project and maintain the boarding at, or maintain the sidewalk at 5%, at 5
5 years.
5 years? Is that what we're saying?
Yep.
Okay. So that's a step in the right direction.
Okay, so that's, everyone, there's a consensus from the board, that's your general fund budget then?
Did you want to look up further or somehow, or you know what you're sitting at right now, 5.8, maybe if you take home your books and read again, maybe there might be something else we can look at. I don't know. I think we've pretty well gone over it.
Well, like I say, I think we've got a lot of things going on this year.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, to go off, but chew this year.
Things that
Yeah.
need to, you know.
Okay, okay, so are we set with general fund then? All right, so why don't we go on to the electric department? That's then the last department we have to discuss. Not a lot occurred in this draft from changes from last week, but there were a few things. So we increased the payment in lieu of taxes as requested by the board. We talked about that, and that was reflective in both of these budget drafts, general fund and electric department. We removed the 16 Village Drive roof replacement project. Again, that was a project that affected all department budgets. Third thing, it was discovered that the deductible for the Kendall plant repairs was not in the electric department draft. You guys recall, we had repairs on the Kendall plant due to damage that was done by a boulder that got into the facility. And we filed an insurance claim. Fortunately, we had coverage for this kind of damage, but there was a $25,000 deductible, and the insurance is covering the rest. The balance, we paid some of that out in 2017, but we still had a balance of $16,111 that we needed to cover in our part of the deductible. And that was not in this budget, so we have added that into the electric department budget, and that's in this draft that you have. So, right now, as we had talked about before when we discussed the electric department, we are showing that the department is running in the red. We're running a deficit in 2018, as this draft shows. As we discussed, we would take that deficit and bridge the gap with available funds in the department, and therefore avoid any rate increase, which I still feel very comfortable in doing with this department. So even with this additional amount that we put into the department, what we're showing for a deficit in 2018 right now in this draft is $12,827, which could pretty easily be absorbed in available funds. There is a risk in that, if there's a spike in the electric market, we could go considerably over that. It doesn't take much of a spike. You could be, another $20,000 in the hole. So again, just want to remind the board of that. But I feel okay about that deficit. I do think we can absorb that in our available funds in the department, at least through 2018. And the last comment then that I would make on the electric department, and I'll just say very quickly, I would suggest you may want to look at the Franklin Foods credit and reduce that to $90,000 from the $120 that we're showing in there, and that's essentially 1/4 of the year that would be removed on that. So, and that's it. Unless there's any other changes that the board wants to make to electric or suggestions, this is where that draft is right now.
Well, I guess if you feel comfortable with it. I don't have any problem. I don't know what everybody else feels.
We do have a few other items, not directly related to the budget itself, but related to the annual report and the annual meeting. Board wouldn't mind if we could take a few minutes to discuss those. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you pass those down, Walter? So I've got a draft of the warning for the 2018 annual meeting here, just so you guys, could see it, just so you have something to look at here. But I will say, given one change that we just talked about with the general fund, I will be adding another article in here, and that has to do with the Elm Street sidewalk project loan. Because I didn't have that in the draft. I didn't know how you guys were gonna decide to go with that. So I didn't put that in as an article in the warning yet, but I will add that. So that'll be an additional article in the warning.
So they'll be voting on that
From the floor. So that'll be 16 articles then, when I add the Elm Street sidewalk project in here. 16 articles that we'll have total to vote on. And
But you'll be eliminating Article 7, right?
that's correct. You're right, Walter, because that had to do with the Pleasant Street project. Right, so actually, you're right. So it'll still be 15 because, well, I'll probably just switch those two out then. Article 7 will become the article for Elm Street rather than the article for Pleasant Street. But we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. I just wanted to put it in front of you just so, you had something to look at. You had an idea what the warning and the articles were going to look like for the upcoming annual meeting. And, if you have any questions or you think I've missed something in here, please just let me know, give me a call or stop down at the office. I will, of course, be sending a copy of this to our attorney for his review too before it goes into the annual report. And then another thing I wanted to touch base with the board on was the dedication for the annual report. We haven't discussed the dedication yet.
Excuse me, Alan, I have approached the balance of the board. I was somewhat nervous of calling you and waking you up out of sleep so I knew that you would be at the meeting tonight. But basically, we talked about James Hayes, who was just recently passed away, who goes way back in the electric department before it was functioned in the same manner and so forth, plus all the other boards that he sat in on. So we thought it would be appropriate. I have consulted with the family, although I did not confirm everything with them. But I just want, would you be in favor for it?
I agree, yes.
Okay, yeah. And that's what it will be, James Hayes.
Okay. Very good. I'll, probably Pat would be a good person to talk to.
Yeah, I've already talked to Pat,
Okay.
and he told me that he would pick up what literature he had at home.
Okay,
He said there was a card and something else, and he said you extract whatever you want from it,
okay,
And that can be picked up at store.
Okay.
He was bringing it and dropping it off at the store, so if that's something that somebody's going to pick up, then I'll forget about it.
yeah, I'll give Pat a call and find out what he'd like to do, and I'd also like to get a photograph from him as well.
Yeah, well, I think if you go back to that obituary one there, that covers you with almost everything anyway, unless there's something else the family wants to add to it,
Yeah.
but it's all there. And I think that's what he'll be giving you,
Alrighty.
Pat.
Well, I appreciate you
Yeah.
looking into that, Walter, and
Yeah.
That's a good
appreciate
choice.
the board making a decision. We'll start working on that. And let's see. I think maybe that might have been it. The dedication, the warning. Is there anything Anything else? Well, one other thing, I guess given what we have discussed, we have another meeting, a special meeting scheduled for next week, next Tuesday. Do you still want to have that meeting? Its purpose was to continue discussions on the 2018 budget. So it's up to you guys. It sounds like you've approved all of the department budgets. Do you want to still meet next week and just, have one more opportunity to look at things? Or do you feel comfortable with it and want to cancel the meeting for next week?
Well, we leave that up to you folks. I mean, it's just my, nothing else comes up.
It certainly wouldn't hurt if something comes up, a thumbnail sketch or something, that you pick up something, and it'd be worthwhile us showing up for.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't take that long for us to be there, And actually, you're gonna be brought to the final draft of everything, really.
Mm-hmm.
Temporarily, we'll hold on to that.
Okay, so still plan on meeting for next week then?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just kind of
Maybe then
touch
we'll
base
have-
one more time
Do you
on
have any
everything.
questions
and-
in me?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds fine.
Okay, so our next item would be highway mileage certification. That's annual deal that goes out
Yeah,
with the mileage.
right, we just need the board to sign off on that, and then Gary can take care of sending that back to the state. Down here, they never give us enough lines to sign on there for some reason. If you can just get your names in where you can in that signature area.
Here you go.
Make my X or something.
American X or French X?
Now, with the new tax laws,
French or French X?
I've just come to
American X.
pass, okay? Our natural gas people are going to be reimbursing money to all their clients. And there's also one other outfit that's on the bandwagon too doing it because of the change in the laws. Are we going to have to do that for our electricity, I wonder? Is this something they have to do, or is it?
That would be news to me, I haven't heard anything.
That was just since I was walking out the door there.
Huh. I don't know.
Haven't heard it.
No.
I see Governor Scott wants to get rid of the taxes on the Social Security.
Huh?
Scott.
Yeah, he was talking about that as well. Yeah.
You can, we need to go on, I can take that.
Oh, okay.
Next item is the liability insurance consideration. With our new, well, I'll let John talk on that, but I guess with our new insurance that we now have and so forth, there's a couple of options that we could deal with, or we should deal with one way or the other, I guess.
Yeah, well, and we may have answered the question at least for this year, but in your packet you'll see some discussion there. I believe it was put it in there. Yeah. You'll see some correspondence between Joanne and our new insurance provider talking about liability coverage for the village. Previously, we've always had and still have $1 million liability coverage, but and Acadia seemed fine with that. Acadia was our previous insurance company, and they never made any different recommendation to us. But this new insurance company that we changed to just this month, Travelers, is recommending we increase that liability coverage to $5 million. So that would be a bit of an increase in our premium as a result of that. If you look down through the correspondence there between our insurance company and Joanne, you'll see it's listed there, $6,987 would be the increase to our premium. So I thought, given the fact that our insurance company is recommending this change, I should at least put it in front of you and get your thoughts. However, after the discussions we've just had regarding our budgets, I also realize we're probably all a little bit sensitive to any further increases.
No increases.
So maybe we've answered the question now, and maybe we just kind of put this in our caps and think about it perhaps for next year, but maybe not for
How much
this
have we
year.
been carrying in the past?
1 million.
1 million.
That's what we've always had, but our new insurance company feels we should really be carrying 5 million. Obviously, there's an incentive
Yeah.
to them to make that recommendation, but
Next year when we negotiate with them for the price, then we can make a deal.
right, maybe then.
I think when you go to 5, they probably have the resell part of it, or
That could be.
I don't know if they do. I don't know if they will, but a lot of times.
Okay, so
Okay, so we're sticking
Sound.
at 1 million right now. Everybody happy with that?
What's that? Keep it the way
We're
it
gonna,
is?
we're gonna keep it at 1 million as we have done in the past, up to this point. And if we want to consider adding on the following year, then we'll sit down, negotiate with the insurance people next time around.
Now, is that electrical, or is that everything, or
it's general liability.
general liability? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any problem, whatever.
Okay. I kind of figured that was probably the answer after we had our discussion on the budget there. Nobody wants to see any more increases, so we can, and that's fine. That's fine. We'll just let them know that that's our answer. We're not going to increase the liability insurance. We'll just keep it at the 1 million, which is the policy that we currently have. Should we go to next item, Walter?
Yeah. Next item is manager's report.
Okay. Again, going back to the Elm Street sidewalk project, in the back of the manager's report, you'll see some correspondence from Doug Goulette from Lamro and Dickinson Engineering. They're the engineering firm that we have working on the Elm Street sidewalk project on our behalf. And in that correspondence, if you go down and read it, you'll see a small discussion Doug and I had about whether or not there should be another public hearing on this project. The board may recall that when we had our last public hearing on this project in the fall of 17, Doug had indicated to everybody that was present there that there would be another public hearing on that project over the coming winter. And in his correspondence that he sent me last week, he's indicating that he has since found out that VTrans only requires one public hearing at this point, so you wouldn't have to do another public hearing if you don't want to on this project. The question I'm asking the board is, are you okay with that, given that we did tell the people that were present at our public hearing back in the fall that we would be holding a second one sometime over the winter?
How many people did we have at that meeting to begin with?
I think we had about 3 or 4. We had Mark McDermott,
Sandy was doing.
yeah, Sandy Furlan, I think Shauna Lovelet was there. There were about 3 or 4 from the public, which was actually the most we had ever had. We had, I think, 3 other public hearings on that project as we were going through the scoping study. And only 1 person came to any of those, and they came just one time to the first one. And that was Mary, oh, I forget her last name. She was the recreation director for the town.
Oh, yeah, they got through 2 cents.
Troy Horn.
Tryhorn, thank you, Guy. Mary Tryhorn. So, who is not a resident of
Yeah.
the village or town of Enosburg. She actually lives in Montgomery, but she came down just to show support for the project as the recreation director for the town at that time. She's no longer there.
Do
There's
we
been
need
2 other
any
directors
easements from
since.
anybody on that?
Pardon,
Do
Guy?
we need any easements from anybody on that?
Yeah, we're gonna need some easements on that project. You know, about half of that is gonna be new sidewalk.
So is that going
Brand
to
new.
affect this other meeting?
Will the easements affect the
This other meeting?
second meeting?
We might do.
I don't know if it'll affect it, but there may be,
The legality, I meant, yeah.
there may be some people that still want to give some feedback to the Board of Trustees. I don't know.
Well, that's what I was
There
wondering,
was-
there was some that night,
Yeah,
and,
I don't think it's a secret. Mark was pretty open that he was opposed to the plan that the Board of Trustees had approved. And
well, I was just concerned about going back to some of these same people for an easement, and, you know, but,
Well, there's really only Mark and out of that crew that could be.
no, I know, but it don't.
Yeah,
And I got a letter from the bank saying they're okay with the easement across their property. I gave it to Doug Webb.
Checks in the mail.
So I have some care of the bank.
so, but I throw that out there because I do recall we had said at that public hearing we'd have another one over the winter. I had sent an email to Doug and said, you know, don't forget about this. Winter will be gone before you know it. And then last week I got this email that you have a copy of in the back saying that he went back and checked with V-Trans and they told him that they actually only need to hold 1 public hearing on it. We don't need to hold the second one.
But the
So-
fact that they were told there'd be another one is what I'm wondering about.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you guys, because we did say at that public hearing there'd be another one over the winter. So before I told Doug, okay, if that's V-Trans answer, you know, forget about the second one, I wanted to check with you guys to make sure you were comfortable with that, or do you still want to hold a second public hearing on it? You know, what makes you guys feel most comfortable?
I think we should, we could have it the same night as our regular meetings here.
Yeah, you can do that.
That's the only reason you know.
I think just for peace of mind, really.
We need
you know,
easements from
For
people.
those half a dozen that did appear, really, they are sincere when it comes to movements.
No, but if you
Probably
need
wouldn't hurt to
easements,
have that.
and they were told there'd be
That way there
another
we
meeting.
can't be criticized. As long as we're not cutting down any trees.
That's right. Tree killers.
Truck killers.
No, that's the way I feel about it, doesn't matter.
I feel we should have it. Just,
Okay. Everyone,
the
Yeah.
voters can't say we ignored them.
okay, so hold the second
Yeah.
public hearing. Okay, so I'll contact Doug and tell him we want to do one more and we'll try and get that.
So what's the time
scheduled.
limits on that now? That's not gonna affect anything.
No, I don't think it'll affect anything. The purpose of the public hearing is to take public comment
Yeah.
from anybody who wants to come down and give you, the Board of Trustees, feedback about the project, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever they want to tell you about it. And just get it on the record so that you're aware at
I
least.
told you so.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Either positive or negative comments anyone might have about the project.
Okay,
All right, so I'll contact our engineer then and let him know we want to do another public hearing on that. Oh, I lost my place here. Okay, next thing, just wanted to, I think I mentioned this already, you guys, but I wanted to make you aware the auditors were here last week. They were here Monday through Wednesday, and there will, of course, be still some more follow-up exploration and review that takes place for the audit. That's normal, that happens every year, but they have finished their presence in the building, and to my knowledge the process has gone okay. I've not been made aware of any major financial concerns thus far. I did tell you about the adjustment that they made in the general fund where we're going to be carrying over $3,000 from 17 to 18, but I wouldn't consider that a major financial concern. So just wanted to let you know that, working towards getting that financial audit done and time to get it into our annual report. And speaking of the annual report, just wanted to touch base with you quickly on that. We are progressing with all work that needs to be completed for our 2017 annual report. I have confirmed the delivery dates with the printers and all seems to be in order. As a reminder, we will be delivering the report to the printers by February 9th. That is our delivery date, and the printer will be delivering the reports back to us, the copies of the printed report back to us by February 23rd to be made available to the public.
how many copies are we getting, Jonathan? Last year we had to put in we had put in a second request, didn't we?
That was, they did, but it wasn't because of our running out of books. There was a mistake that was made in the annual report that we wanted to get corrected so that everybody had the correct information in front of them in the annual report. So we made that correction and he reprinted it. But it wasn't because we ran out of books.
Do we mail out the,
No.
So we're getting 175, Walter, to answer your question.
Yep, 175.
where are they available? Just here, or do we put them up to
No.
town?
No, the locations that
Town
we've had them available are obviously here in the village office, the town clerk's office, and the public library.
Okay, yeah.
They can't be at the post office also?
No, oh, no.
No. Oh, God, no.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think there were some
No?
issues, they didn't want them to be there anymore.
Okay.
There was a time when we had some available up there, but I think they decided they didn't want them there anymore, so we stopped putting them up there.
Okay.
And that's it for manager's report.
Anything under other business? Do we have anything under other business? If not, then we'll move into, I'll accept a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make the motion.
Second?